I
Yeah.
was like at rock bottom. I was like, this is awful. Like it would be awful if I didn't pass it again.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just been like 2 long years of just trying everything, and I felt like I ran out of options.
Bonjour, guys. Welcome to my channel. Today, I'm joined by a very special guest, Julie. Julie recently passed her FE exam after failing it 4 times. And so in this interview, she's going to share with us her FE experience and what she did to prepare and pass her FE exam. Julie, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me, Kenza. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. I'm really excited to do this. I remember we talked, the first time we talked was on April. You
Hmm.
registered in my course, and then after 2 weeks, I reached out, and then we had the phone call on how you can pass your FE exam and how you can prepare. And then since then, you've just been studying for your FE exam. So we'll dive into that in a little bit. Why don't you start telling us a little bit about yourself? When did you graduate, and what was your major?
So I graduated Cal State Long Beach in May 2019 with a bachelor's degree, and I majored in civil engineering.
Oh, okay.
Hmm.
So you are in LA? Are you in
I
California?
live in Anaheim,
Oh,
so
okay. Okay,
Orange County.
cool.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's great. Well,
Yeah.
I'm in Los Angeles and I actually graduated from Cal State Northridge. I
Nice.
actually didn't know you graduated from Cal State as well. Um,
Yeah.
okay. So what kind of students were you in college?
So I was pretty studious. Like I love studying. It's always been a thing of mine. And, I mainly love the material. I loved learning. And because of that, I wasn't too involved in like extracurricular activities like ASCE or SWE or anything like that. And I also worked part-time. So I was studying. And then when I wasn't studying, I was working at my internship.
I see.
So,
Okay. So
mhm.
you weren't really involved in the ASCE and
No,
all this.
I
Yeah.
just wanted to like keep my grades up, like graduate with a good GPA, get a good job.
That's great. So why did you decide to take the FE?
So my ultimate goal is to obtain the PE, and I want to be able to have like more responsibilities, develop my career, be able to manage projects and lead teams and stuff like that. And I feel like in order to do that, a good first step is to take the FE.
I see.
So
So it wasn't
mhm.
a requirement by your job.
It's encouraged by my job to get it, and they obviously want to see that you're working towards it, but it was more so like a personal goal for myself to get it. Like
I,
I want to develop my career and I want to move on up. So,
yeah, that's great. And do you work
yeah.
in the private or public sector?
I work in the private and I work for the water industry.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Awesome. Okay. And so let's now jumping into scheduling. How many months
Sure.
before the FE exam did you begin studying?
So I began studying in January. So it's probably been about from January to June. What is that? 5, 6 months. So it was a while, and I tried different types of like courses and stuff. And when I found your course, I just kept at it for like the next like 3, 4 months, and yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So when you say January, so that was for your last attempt, right? On the fifth attempt?
So I took it the fourth time in December 2019 and I
Okay.
failed. And then I just started studying right away in January. So, like,
I-
I did, I gave myself a break with the holidays and stuff. And then once New Year's passed, I started studying again.
Okay. So you
Mhm.
started studying, and then because of COVID and the whole quarantine, you couldn't really to take your exam on what,
No,
February? I think the February, March, they closed all the centers. So you
right.
just kept studying. Then on
Hmm.
April, I remember you registered in my class, and that's when you started like continue studying till you took the exam. Is that correct?
Right.
Okay. And
Hmm.
then when was the last time you took it? Was
It
June?
was December 2019, and then the fifth time was this past June.
Okay.
So, mhm,
Okay.
last month.
This month, yeah. That's what I remember, yeah. So was it like at the end of June, correct?
June 26th.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, cool. And so on average, how many hours did you study per week?
So before COVID, I was working in the office, so I only got to study maybe like 2, 3 hours, like 2 days a week, actually. And it was because of the course that I took before this one. So it was like classes 2 days a week. So I was like studying two,
Mhm.
3 hours those 2 days. And then on the weekends, I would do like 6 to 8 hours. And then once, February hit and, we had to, all the COVID stuff happened and I started working from home, that's when I picked up the studying. So I would study like 3 hours after work every day and then 6 to 8 hours on the weekend.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. So it's kind of helped with this whole quarantine. It helped you, it gave you more time to
Right.
focus on the FE exam.
Yeah, I didn't have to worry about like, the commute back and forth to work and it made me really tired and I was just like I don't really feel like, studying. So the fact that I was already at home and didn't waste time with commute or anything, I was able to get more study time in.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think sometimes like driving is just like draining, and when you get
Mhm.
home after work, you just feel really tired, and then
Right.
spend 2 hours just kind of recharging, and by the time you start studying, it's already like 8 and you
Oh
already
yeah.
tired.
It's like the
So
day's over and you got to repeat.
yeah. So yeah, that's great. And
Yeah.
so now, did you increase that time as the exam got closer?
Yes, I actually took 3, 4 days off before my test and I studied the whole day. Like it was like the moment I woke up at like 7:38 until like 6, 7, 8 p.m. at night. So I really did pick up the pace like the last 2 weeks before my test.
So
Hmm.
you were like, I'm just gonna power through this.
Yeah.
It's like this is the last chance I'm giving this exam.
Exactly.
Like I better pass, and you just give it your all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just wanted to take advantage of like the fact that, I'm at home and,
Hmm.
I could have that like more time to study and am able to like mentally prepare better than, working in the office.
Yeah, that's true. That's
Yeah.
great, actually. I'm glad you took advantage of that time to spend it
Hmm.
on studying and preparing for the FE exam. Are you still working from home right now, or are you
I
guys?
am, yes.
Okay, okay, that's cool. Okay, and so now let's talk a little bit about your preparation.
Mhm.
So, what material did you use?
Okay, so the first time I took it was back in August 2018. For that one, I just used the FE Civil Review Manual and then the FE Practice Problem Book by Linderberg. And
Mm-hmm.
at that time, it was the month before I started my last year of school. So I was missing a good amount of classes. Like I didn't take reinforced concrete yet. I didn't take steel or transportation or foundation design or construction. So I knew like going in the first time it was going to be, like just to see how it is, get a feel for the exam. And then I failed it that time. And then the second to fourth time, including this time as well, like I used a lot of different material. So I was using the FE Civil Review Manual, I was using the practice book problems. I even ordered a separate practice book problem, like book from someone named or Giram, something like
Mm,
that. It
okay.
was it was pretty good actually. It closely resembled like the exam as well. And then I even had a tutor at some point. So I did like private one-on-one tutoring for like a month, but then it got really expensive and I just couldn't keep it
Yeah.
going. And then I did a different FE prep course
Okay.
and then I like found your course right after. So it's like I went through all of the material I could possibly get my hands on to
Yeah.
like study for this.
Long
So
journey. That's
It,
a.
it was, yeah. I tried to see like what could work for me because
Mhm.
I just couldn't figure out like what is it that's going to motivate me to study and make me enjoy it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. And then, so a couple things here. So first, you took it before you graduated. So you took it the
Yes,
first time you took it, that was in 2018. And I'm really glad you brought that up, because you said you still haven't taken a lot of the classes
right.
that are in the afternoon. And it's funny because when I was in school, I remember in my last year, all my professors encouraged me to take the FE exam. And when I was looking at the FE specifications, first of all, they actually advised me to take FE other discipline. And when I took it and I looked at the specification, I was like, this makes no sense. Why would I
Hmm.
take FE other discipline? There's so many material here that it's not related to civil, never took it,
Exactly.
never will take it, and I don't want to really study for it.
Yeah.
When I look at the civil, I'm like, I know all this stuff, and
Hmm.
some of the subjects I will know once I graduate. So I decided then to take the FE civil. And then when they said, hey, try to take it before you graduate, I was like, that makes no sense because I still
Right.
haven't taken foundation. I still haven't taken like hydraulics and
Hmm.
concrete, and those are big portion
They
of
are.
the exam. So
The entire second half.
yeah, so I don't know why they recommend that. It makes no sense. For me, it's like, and then also like I didn't want to be studying for the midterms and exams, and then also for the exam.
Oh yeah, it's rough.
Yeah, so I really wanted to grasp the material in
Hmm.
school, learn it, and once I graduated, then I took the FE. So I think that's actually better. But if you just take it just so you have an idea what it is about, I think that's great. You can do that, and then once you
Hmm.
graduate, then just spend like 3 months just focusing on it, and then take your exam. And I think,
Exactly.
yeah, I think that's better. Sometimes those students take it before they graduate and they pass, and I think that's great.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah. And so now let's go back again and go over the materials that you used. So you said that you use a lot of different books,
I
and
did.
you also got the private tutor. Was this in before you last attempt or on your fourth attempt? When did you get the private tutor?
It was on my fourth attempt.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, so on your fourth attempt, you got private tutor. You also got FE prep course, another FE
No,
prep.
so that was the fifth time. So I
Oh,
actually did your course and another
I
course.
see. Okay. And
Yeah.
you find that course helped as well, the FE prep course?
It was helpful,
Okay.
but it was a little too difficult like than the exam. Like a lot of the material wasn't exactly like relevant to what I've seen on the exam. And by that time I've taken it four times, three, 4 times. So I knew like this isn't going to be on there.
Yeah.
But like they did cover concepts pretty well. So that's what I really liked about it. I mainly focused on like grasping concepts from the course rather than like the problems, like the
Yeah,
application.
that's great. And do
Hmm.
you mind telling us what course that was?
It was PPI.
Okay, okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fine. You can, like it, like I just want to, we share as much material
Hmm.
as possible to help other students. Because, like my course might not work for everyone. Everybody's learning
Yeah.
process is different, right? And so, like, if you found PPI really helpful, another student might find that more helpful than my course,
Hmm.
and that's okay because we all have different like learning processes, and
Exactly.
my teaching might not work for some people, PPI might work for them, so it's totally fine.
Hmm.
So you used PPI, and then so you got the whole course, or did you just get the practice exams because they have different,
Right.
right?
So I did like the live action course. So it was actually 2 days a week for 3 hours, and they go through all the material for the exam.
Okay.
And I think it was like over the course of 3 months, I believe.
Okay.
So I did that from like January till I believe March, the end of March, and then I found your course in April. So I just kind of continued on.
Wow, that's a lot of
Mhm.
material you covered.
It was, yeah, it was.
You're like, I'm giving it all. Yeah, that's great. Okay, and so now, did you feel like your undergrad classes prepared you well for the FE exam?
I do feel like they did a good job. I was pretty fortunate to have really good professors for all my classes. And I do feel like the material that I went over at school was pretty much what I saw on the exam for the most part. I think what was like challenging is like materials. I do feel like for my materials class, there was a lot of concepts that I didn't really remember learning in class, like the phase diagram stuff. I never saw that in my class before, and it showed up on my test twice. So I'm just like, "Oh, I don't know, like, that was pretty much like one of the things that stood out to me on the test that I kept seeing and I didn't see on, in my course that I when I took it.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think materials is challenging. When I was actually preparing the FE Bytes course, I think materials is the one where I spend the most time on,
Oh yeah.
just because it's like, first of all, it's very broad. There's
Mhm.
so many materials in there. There's like concrete, there's wood, there's like polymers, ceramics. Like there's just so many materials you need to cover, and on top of that, you have to cover all like the mechanical properties, electrical properties
Exactly.
within it, those materials, and he's just like, it's so broad, you're not sure exactly what's going to
Like
be
what
on
you need.
the exam.
Yeah.
Yes, so it is one of the tricky
Mhm.
subjects on there. And the crazy thing is that for FE Civil, you don't even get that many questions on materials.
Oh
It's
yeah, no.
four, maybe six
Mhm.
questions you get, and then it's like there's so much covered on there. So it's like you don't know what
Exactly.
you're gonna get. Yeah,
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 that was the overwhelming portion to study for. It's just so
yeah.
much information to like really know. Like you can't memorize. That's something you just need to like understand.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
mhm,
Now, I was hoping we could discuss some of your study techniques. Are there any
definitely.
study habits that you found not to be effective?
So one of the biggest things for me was um, watching videos and then just looking at how they do the problem, looking at the solution, and then not doing it myself.
Mhm.
I think the biggest thing is if you don't attempt to do it on your own, like, yeah, you could understand it watching a video and be like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. But then the moment you try to do it on your own, you just don't know what to even do. And that was like kind of the techniques that I used in the beginning. And then, the fifth time around, I really attempted to do the problem and make sure, like, before I look at the solution, I tried it, to the best of my ability, even if I didn't know how to do it.
Yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
that's actually a really good point you brought that up. If I'm not sure if you remember, but I think Corey mentioned that, and he said
Hmm.
that like that's what he did at the beginning in his first couple attempts. He would just watch the videos, but then he would actually force himself to do the problems, and
Exactly.
that really changed his whole like
Hmm.
studying process. And it's very important to actually try the problems because you found a lot of mistakes as you go through those problems, and you will remember those mistakes during your exam rather than if you just sit and watch. You're never going to know which mistakes you might actually do.
Exactly. And I
Yeah,
think it helps reinforce that information too. Like if you're doing it on your own every single time, like eventually you'll get it down because you're reinforcing that information every time you do it. So,
yeah, that's right. So did you like how the FE Bytes course is structured, how I give you guys a hint in that intro just to walk you like through the problem, give you a little bit of hints, concepts, give you a chance to try it before we start solving it?
yeah, I love that. That was the best. It worked for me. It made my studying experience much more enjoyable. Like I was looking exactly for something structured like that that I could follow.
Wow.
And I feel like that's something that a lot of videos out there don't have. So,
Yeah. Yeah,
mhm.
that's great. Okay, that's awesome. Did you make any changes to your study habits or materials between the times you failed the exam versus the time you passed?
Right. So for the fifth time, I enrolled in prep courses. I didn't do that before. I just mainly focused on like materials, books and stuff that I bought online or borrowed from someone.
Mhm.
And the fifth time around, I decided to invest a little bit more into it and take a prep course, well, two prep courses. So, and then the study techniques, I was actually like putting in the time and really trying to do the problems on my own, not just like watching these videos and being like, okay, I got it, and then move on. Like, I actually took the time to do each problem. And
Yeah.
more than once, too. I went through the FE Bytes course. I rewatched those videos like 2 to 3 times.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that a lot. The last material, what was the last material that you went over and you reviewed?
The last material that I actually reviewed before my test was materials, fluids, and I believe it was statics. Like those were the three I was like, I just want to brush up on. Oh, and econ. Because
Mm.
econ, I was like, I want to get this one down because I just wasn't doing well the other times. So I remember like the last 2 weeks, those were like my four main like focuses. Like I already had everything else like down. So
So you
yeah.
just focus on your weaknesses in the last
At
3 weeks.
that point, at the end, yeah, just
Yeah,
went through and like reinforced like that information, made sure I
yeah.
got it down. Yeah.
That's great. So it's like it's very important that you know what are your weaknesses, and you knew
Mhm.
that. You knew that you weren't comfortable in engineering econ. You were scared of materials,
Right.
and fluid mechanics and statics. So you're like, I'm going to overcome these weaknesses.
Mhm.
I'm going to reinforce the concept so I feel more confident on the exam.
Correct.
Yeah. Did you take any practice exams?
I did. I used the NCEES practice exam book and I took it like once a month, actually.
Wow.
Like I probably taken it a total of like 3 or 4 times. And it's just like every time I'd see myself improve, I knew I was going in the right direction. Even
Okay.
though like at some point you just like kind of memorize it a little bit, but it's like I was able to like actually understand how to do the problem step by step at that point. Like I knew in the first time I took it in the beginning I got like a 70, which was like
Mhm.
pretty good, and then by the end, which was like a week before my exam, I was at like a 92, and I was like, okay, I think like I'm in a good spot.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
great. And did you take any other practice exam or did you just take the NCS?
No, just that one.
Wow.
Mhm.
Okay, that's great. Awesome. Was there anything specific that you did that helped you stay motivated while studying for the FE exam?
Well, I think the biggest thing was watching the interviews. Like when I didn't feel motivated, there would always be like a new video out or something at like the perfect time. And I just watch it and it just make me feel motivated again to study. And also the fact that I just like I'm so determined to pass it after like, 4 times of failing it. And I really don't want to like miss this opportunity while I'm at home to, like
Yeah.
I want to pass it. And now that I have the time, I just wanted to take advantage of
Yeah,
that.
that's
Yeah.
true. Yeah, so it's like even if you do not pass it, the first, second, third time, it doesn't matter. Like if you have a chance where you can spend some extra time, get the right material,
Right.
change your study habits, because a lot of times is that what happens is that when people don't they fail the first time or the second time, they don't really look at what did I do wrong. People should
Mhm.
stop at that point and just look back and just see without judging themselves, without beating themselves
Right.
up for failing. It's okay to fail, but you have to stop and analyze and see what you did wrong, and then you have to change it, because you can't keep doing the same thing and
Mhm.
expect different results. If you
Exactly.
want to pass, you have to change either your study habits or your material, whatever it is. You have to find what it is, and you have to figure out what's going to work for you, right?
Mhm.
So I think it's very important to keep that in mind. So it took, and you don't want to just give up, because after the FE
Exactly.
there's the PE, there's like you want to excel in your career, right? So you can't just give up just because you didn't pass this exam. You have to
Right.
keep trying, and then at the end of the day, all it matters is that you will pass this exam. Nobody's
Exactly.
going to ask you how many times did you fail before you pass. Nobody asks that.
Oh
What
yeah,
matters
no.
is that you passed it. So
I know
yeah.
it's more of like just like a mind game you play with yourself. Like it's you have to not think so negatively and you have to be like, I could do this. Like it doesn't matter if it didn't take me like, I didn't pass the first time. Like that's fine. Like everyone's journey is different. Everyone's study habits are different. Like you can't compare yourself to others because it doesn't get you anywhere. And I know because I've been there myself. Like it was definitely hard for me to like process that because being like very studious in school, like it was weird for me to be like, why is this taking me more than once or twice? Like I know my stuff, but
Yeah.
yeah. And I
Yeah.
think what also helped was like your tips. Like you always sent emails like, every other week, whatever it was, and they were like helpful tips to stay motivated. And so that really helped me too. It was like at the right times, I swear. I'd be like, literally, I'm just like so unmotivated, and there's an email from you. So it's like, oh, perfect.
That's great. That's awesome. I'm glad that helped. Yeah. And
Yeah.
you're right, you can't compare yourself to others because everyone is different. And even though, like you mentioned, like you were a good student, like you
Hmm.
were studying, you did pretty well in college, and you still struggled with this
Yeah.
exam. And it doesn't mean that you're a bad engineer, or
Right.
it's like it just means that you have to find the material that's going to work for you.
Hmm.
And that's why I keep trying to post different interviews, because everybody's experience is different, and someone's experience might help other people and might not help you, and you might find someone else who might help you, like his
Right.
tips and his study habits, because everyone is different. And so, and also it's important to not compare ourselves to either our classmates or colleagues. And I think that one is really important because we are
Hmm.
all different and we all have different journeys. And I remember
Exactly.
actually in school, we had this classmate. He was a C student. He was okay student, and he was like, I'm just going to take this exam just for the fun of it and just see how I'm going to do. And so he actually went and he took it and he passed. And everybody was really surprised that he. And then we had another classmate, and she was doing pretty well. She was like a BA student. She did
Mhm.
really well in her classes, and it actually took her like 6 times to pass it.
Right.
So it just really
Exactly.
depends, and it doesn't mean that she's stupid or he's smart.
Mhm.
Has nothing to do with that. It just like everybody is different. Everybody does it differently in the exam, especially in that environment. Some people do well.
Oh
Some
yeah.
people get anxious and they stress
Mhm.
out. So you just have to figure out what works for you. You have to find out things that will keep you motivated. And I'm really glad that my emails helped you stay
Oh
motivated.
yeah, I loved
Um,
it.
yeah, yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, so I think that's really what it is. You just have to find what's going to work for you and just to keep going.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So now I was hoping we could explore the day before you took your FE exam. Were you feeling ready?
I was at ease. Like it wasn't so much like stress. I was just a little nervous because I know this test has been like a big, like, I've just every time I think about it, it just didn't make me feel good. But I was at ease because I felt like I did everything I could. I really did put in the time and the effort and I prepared for it. And also what's funny is I didn't tell anybody I was taking it. Like everyone was under the impression I was going to take it in July because I believe I told you that too. And I just didn't tell anybody that I switched it. So it was nice not to have like that outside pressure of someone being like, oh, I hope you do well. Like, make sure you do this. Like, no, I just like, canceled all that out. I was like, I'm the only one who knows. And just not having that pressure was really helped too. So I took like the day before just for myself. Like, I took a walk, like, spent time with family, just really had like a calm day. I didn't look at any material. So, yeah, I
Yeah,
felt okay that day.
that's great. It's like you like silence all the noises that
Yes.
might come. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's awesome. You just gotta tune into your body. You
Mhm.
know what you need to pass this exam. And I liked how you didn't tell anybody, like
Yeah,
especially
no.
at work. A lot of students they stress when they because then if you don't do well, then you have to break the news. Hey, I didn't
Oh,
pass,
yeah.
and that's like and that can put some pressure on you and it can stress you out. So you were like,
Exactly.
I'm
I was
just
like, I don't want outside pressure. Like, I don't want to feel like, if I don't pass this, I'm going to disappoint someone or whatever. Like, none of that.
yeah
And it made a difference this time around. I felt much more at ease. Like I was more focused. Like I didn't have like, oh my gosh, if you don't pass, like this is going to happen and this is going to happen. You know what I mean? It's just
yeah
like went
yeah.
in there, did my best, didn't have any like outside thoughts or distractions. So,
That's awesome. It was just
yeah.
like you and the exam and you were at peace. That's it.
Yeah.
Like even if you don't do well, nothing's going to happen because nobody
Exactly.
knows about it.
Exactly.
What exam? I never took it. What?
Exactly.
That's great. So were you stressed about the exam, like about the material, about the questions?
I wasn't because I felt like honestly from taking it so many times and then going through your course, those were questions that I actually saw. Like, I felt like, okay, yeah, this is material that I see being on there. So I felt like I prepared to the best of my ability. I watched those videos 2 to 3 times. I was like, I think I'm okay. And
Yeah,
that's how I felt going in. And
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, that's great. So that's actually a really good point because a lot of times, like I get students where they go like, which material should I
right.
use or should I use more than just the FE bites? And I
Mhm.
always tell them like, especially at the end before your exam, if you are enrolled in my classes, just go over those. Just and I keep seeing the same pattern. So Jeff was the first student who said like he watched my course like 2 or 3 times, and then
Oh,
he
yeah.
did the same thing, and then Pranita, and then you, and I have so many students who also passed and did the same thing. They would just watch the whole course 2 to 3 times, and that's because like those materials really prepare you well for the FE exam. That works, so
It
that's
does
great.
work, yeah. And I
Yeah.
mean, they'll tweak stuff here and there, but it's like when you go over the concept and you know it, it doesn't matter how they reword the problem. Like you got it.
Yeah, because you now you I try to give you guys the concepts. I try to
Hmm.
explain to you guys to grasp the concepts so this way you'll be able to answer any given
Anything, yeah.
yeah. And so would you say the PPI course helped you as well with your preparation with the FE exam?
Honestly, not so much on the first half. I
Okay.
mainly used that to focus on the second half, and I think they did a good job with that. But the first half, not so much.
I
Like
see.
it was the second half that I felt like I got the most out of that course.
Okay. I just wanted to ask, just for the people out there who are looking into this and they want to see if the PPI courses help, because I get some students who took couple courses out there and
Uh-huh.
they didn't found them helpful. A
Yeah.
lot of times they found the questions really difficult, not
Hmm.
really helping them prepare for the FE exam. They get anxious as well because they're like, is the FE exam this difficult, or is just
Yeah.
these courses make it difficult? So there's that question I get a lot from students. So
Hmm.
that's why I just wanted to clarify, because like I've never taken the PPI course. I
Yeah.
really don't know what kind of material they present. And so that's why I just want to ask you, like, how were the questions and did they really prepare you for the exam?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were tough. Like they're not I didn't feel like they were really relevant to the test. Like the concepts were mainly what I got out of the course, but like the problems that were done in that course were not really helpful. They were too difficult. We also had like quizzes for homework that were just ridiculous. Like it made me so unmotivated after. I was like, what is this? Like, I felt like I was going backwards with those quizzes that we had to do, but like the second half, I felt like the concepts, anyways, they did a really good job with explaining them, but the problems, not so much.
Yeah, wow. And
Yeah.
so funny you bring this up. I've actually had a student this week. He's taking his exam in 2 weeks, I think, and
Oh,
he
okay.
actually is taking the PPI course, and he took the quizzes, and he's freaking out, and he's
Yeah.
like, "Oh my God, I'm not motivated. I'm
Right.
not getting the concept. What's going on? Is the FE exam similar to your course or
Oh
PPI?" And
no.
he was lost. Like, and I reached out at the good timing. I was just checking on him because I knew his exam was coming up. I was like, "Hey, how's studying going?" And he was like, "Oh my God, this is perfect timing. I'm not doing well." And so this is actually the second time I hear this, that the quizzes are like, they're very hard.
Yeah.
That they're
They're ridiculous. I'm just like I've never seen something so like it unmotivated me so much. And
yeah.
like a lot of that stuff wasn't even in the manual. So I think the big thing is like when studying for this, especially the PPI course, like watch for the problems that if they're not things you could find in the manual, they're not going to be on there. If they take longer than 3 minutes, they're not going to be on there, which was like a lot of what that course was. Like all the problems were over 3 minutes, really long. You can't find the formulas in the manual. I was like, this is a waste of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. See, that's when it becomes tricky because people don't have time, don't have a whole year to study for this exam. They just want like to study for like 3 months, a quick, good review, go take the exam,
Exactly.
and they make it seems like they make it very difficult, and it
Difficult.
becomes dangerous when you start affecting people's confidence and motivation. That's when this
Exactly.
thing becomes dangerous, because you don't want people to feel discouraged to take this exam, and you have to actually keep motivating them, and you have to throw in, sure, some easy ones here and
Right.
there just to uplift their confidence. And then if you want to go the difficult route, you can do that, but as long as you, I don't know, work out some sort of like a balance, because this way you go, okay, I got some right, got some wrong, not like just completely like,
Oh yeah, it was
no. Yeah.
everything was wrong. I was like, this is bad.
Wow.
Because that's how I felt studying from the Linderberg practice problem book. Those are hard. Like there were a couple that were like, okay, I could do this. And then the moment I feel good, it's like the next question's awful. And I'm like back to like square one. I don't want to study anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah. So you started studying using PPI course. You felt like you lost motivation. So
I
how
did.
did you get yourself back again?
Well, that's when I started watching like the interviews and I heard about your course and I was like, I need something that will motivate me. And the way that these people talked about your course, they're just like, oh, it's great. Like it's motivated me to study and it was a good experience. I was like, oh yeah, I'm all for it. And so like as soon as I got your course, I didn't really finish the PPI course like completely. Like I had like a couple videos I had to watch, but I was like, I'm not going to even focus on that. So
Mm.
like I went to your videos and like I actually started enjoying my experience studying, and that motivated me again. Like the more problems I did, and I was able to like understand it. Yeah.
Yeah, great, awesome. Well,
Yeah.
I'm really glad that happened. I'm really glad you didn't give up after
Yeah,
watching or
no,
doing.
I
Yeah,
was like at rock bottom. I was like, this is awful. Like it would be awful if I didn't pass it again.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's just been like 2 long years of just trying everything, and I felt like I ran out of options. And honestly, these interviews like were the best thing that ever happened. So I'm like
Yeah,
really appreciative of like Koi and Tushar. Like honestly, like they motivated me so much to like really get back up there and like start studying again.
that's
So,
great. That's
yeah.
awesome. I'm really glad that that helped. Okay, so how much sleep did you get the night before the exam?
Oh yeah, I got a good amount of sleep. I went to bed at 9, like 9 p.m. at night, and I was good. Woke up at like 6:30. Yeah, I got a good amount of sleep.
That's good. That's great. You were ready.
Oh yeah, I was like I have to get into like test mode.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's dive into the day of the exam. How were you feeling during the exam?
I was at ease. Like when I started answering like, the first few questions and I was getting them, I was like, okay, I feel good. I feel confident. Like this is great. And it just, I didn't like all the nervousness I had just went away and I was able to focus way more. So the only thing that like kind of made me feel a little like nervous was probably wearing a mask the whole time because that's something that, I didn't have to worry about before and then now it's like an extra thing. So it, it was weird.
Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah.
ask you that because Pranita brought that up last week when
Yeah.
we interviewed her, and she said the same thing. It was hard to do the whole exam while wearing the mask, so she
Oh
kept
yeah.
moving it back and forth just to take some air and then put it
Oh
back.
yeah.
That sounds stressful.
It was, yeah, that was like the only factor, but like that was doable. I was like, I can make this work. It's fine.
Nothing is gonna stop you.
Yeah,
You
no.
can.
I was like, I'm determined.
That's great. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Did you track your time?
I did. So the first half, I took about 3 hours and 20 minutes. And I know that was a lot, but it's like I knew I studied that the most. So I was
Mhm.
like, I want to make sure I nail this. And I went back and I rechecked everything. I was like, if I can re-nail this first, like if I can nail this first part, like the second part, like I know just enough to like be able to get through it. So I didn't give myself much time for the second half, but I still got through it and I felt pretty good about it, but not as good as the first half. Like I was pretty confident in the
Yeah,
first half. Yeah.
great. How much time did you spend per question?
So for the easier ones that like I was able to get, it was like maybe 1 to 2 minutes. There were a couple where I did spend more than like 3 minutes, but I was like, I need to skip those and come back to them at the end. And that's exactly what I did that I didn't apply in the previous times I've taken it. Because I just have a tendency to get stuck on one question and I'm like, I have to answer it before I move on.
Mhm.
So like this time I was like, okay, if it's taking me longer than 3 minutes, skip and come back. So
Yeah, I think
yeah.
that's really important. Like I always tell this to you guys to always do the easy ones, the ones that
Hmm.
easy and fast. And even the ones
Exactly.
you know, but if they're long, I would just say flag it and come back to it
Hmm.
later because you might get 10 easy ones rather than focusing on that one that you know, but it's just gonna take you a long time. And
Exactly.
once you go through those, then you can go back and then, finish the exam.
Hmm.
And you're going to finish it more at ease because you
Exactly.
tackled a lot of
Yeah,
problems.
it gives you a little boost of confidence to go back and like tackle the harder ones.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Now, how many questions did you have to guess, and do you have a guessing strategy?
I did have to guess on quite a few for the second half. Like it was I felt like more than 10. And like I started to get a little worried, but I tried to make like educated guesses if I could. Like some of them I was able to like narrow it down to two options. And then I was like, okay, so it's going to be one of these two. And I'd guess. And then for the ones I had like absolutely no idea how to do it, I just guessed B. Like I picked one letter and I stuck with it.
That's
So
cool. Okay, and
yeah.
so and in the morning you didn't have any question you guessed? You
There
got
were
them
there were
all?
like maybe like 3 or 5. Like it wasn't a lot. Like I was
Wow,
pretty confident with like the first half.
that's great. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, were you feeling confident when you finished the exam?
It's so funny because once I finished, I was like, like I'm not sure how I feel. Like I was like, I know I feel good about the first half, but the second half, like half kicked my butt a little bit. So I was like, I did kind of doubt a little bit. I was like, maybe I didn't, because you start getting in your head. It's like, what
Yeah.
if I didn't answer the ones I thought I got right, and then it's just I started getting into my head. I didn't feel good after. So it's like I started off strong, and then like by the end, I was like, I just felt like, I'm not sure. It was tough. It was like a tough, week waiting. It's just like I don't know what if I did this wrong. I'd start thinking about the ones that I was like, oh wait, this was actually how I was supposed to do it. So like,
You
yeah.
were doing the whole exam
Oh
again.
yeah. I was like I remembered so many of my questions too, and I would go back and Google them, and I'm like, "Oh wait, like I was supposed to do this instead." And then that would freak me out. The most
Yeah.
stressful week, and nobody knew about it. So everyone's like, "Why you look so stressed?" And I'm like, "Don't worry about
Oh, that's funny.
it."
Just drop it. I just have a bad week.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Uh, okay. Are there any areas that were particularly difficult that you wish you would have studied more?
Mechanics and materials, because I thought I had that
Oh.
down. It was a little toughy. And then geotech. So geotech was like one of my strong suits in college, so I didn't bother putting in that much time. And then it really like it
Mhm.
was challenging. So I
Yeah.
was I kind of wish I put in more time to review that. And then surveying, I just guessed completely.
All
It
of
was
them?
it was tough. It was tough.
You guess in all of the
Oh
questions?
yeah, I was like I didn't spend any time on that. Like I was so focused on like the first half that like the second half I brushed through what I knew like decently, and then the ones that I knew I just wasn't going to get, like I was like, maybe I could figure it out, but it was tough. I couldn't even I
Yeah.
just guessed.
It sounds like by the time you got to the afternoon, you were just drained. You were
Oh
like, I'm
yeah.
done. I'm out of here.
Yeah, I put in my all into the first half, and then the second half I was like, wait.
I have no energy left.
Yeah, running on fumes at that point.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Are there any concepts or topics that were easier than you expected?
Econ. I was so surprised I was able to get those. I was like before I was getting zeros on that every time. So econ was good and materials was like I got it and I was like, okay. So
Materials as well?
yeah, I was the ones that I struggled on so badly last time. I really got them down this time around. So that
Yeah.
was nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess this is what happens when you know your weaknesses and then you write it down and you're like, these are my weaknesses and I'm going to
Mhm.
focus on them and overcome them. And then, they become easier.
Yeah,
You
it's
don't
the
become,
best feeling because I know
yeah.
like a lot of people say like study your strengths, which I probably should have done, but it's like I was so determined just to understand what was going on with my weaknesses that I like didn't go back and really look at the ones that I was strong at, and that's where I ended up struggling a little bit. But I
Mm,
knew I could get through it, except surveying. I don't that one I just completely guessed. But like the other ones, like I was able to like get some, and then the other ones I was like it's challenging a little bit.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. I can't believe you got like econ and materials. They're
Oh yeah,
like,
I was determined. I was like, I need to get these down.
yeah, that's great. Did you, I'm not sure because I did add more problems and their materials. Were you
Mhm.
able to see the last materials that I added on
I
like
did. There's so
complete?
many more
Okay.
problems.
Okay.
So many.
Yes.
I was like
Yeah.
relieved. I was like, good thing I took it. Like it's done. Yeah.
Yeah, there are a lot of more materials. Like if you actually log in right now, I'm up to maybe 620
Oh
videos.
wow.
Yeah, I just finished mechanics of materials and now I'm adding ender dynamics and some under fluid mechanics. Yeah.
Very nice. I mean, I honestly might go back and just watch because I just love learning the material and I'm like, I love how you teach it. So I'm like, okay, like for funsies, like not even to know, just for
Yeah.
myself.
Great. Or when you
Yeah.
start preparing for the PE, you can always
Oh
go,
yeah, definitely.
yeah, and review those materials. Okay. Now, which sections had a large amount of conceptual questions?
Materials and transportation. I was really surprised with transportation because I like prepared myself for like the vertical curve problems and the horizontal curve and the stopping sight distance, and it was all conceptual. I was like, what is happening?
Wow.
The whole thing was conceptual. I was like, okay. I think there was like one question where it like was a stopping sight distance, and then the rest it was just conceptual. So I was really surprised by that because I didn't study the conceptual part of transportation and it could be
Yeah.
tough.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
yeah.
transportation engineering is really tricky and environmental. So I'm actually starting to prepare the course for the afternoon, and I feel like environmental and transportation are the
Right.
trickiest one because they're really heavy on concepts. So I've had a couple students, they had similar as you, like they would had probably one practical question where they actually
Right.
had to solve. The rest was all
Mhm.
conceptual, and that's very common. And what makes it tricky is that I mean, transportation is so broad. Like you have to read the whole book
Oh
to
yeah.
like really dive in and understand, and it's just really tricky.
For that section in particular, like those questions were all like the special type where it's like the select all that apply or the drag and drop one. So those made it even harder. It's just like I don't know how to narrow it down. Like it's hard.
Yeah, can I just pick one answer and just
Right.
move next? Like it's already hard enough the question. Adding the format that makes
Oh
it
yeah.
yeah yeah. That's funny. Okay. Lastly, I was hoping we could talk about your life after passing the exam.
Yeah.
Now, did passing the FE impact your professional life? So I know you didn't tell anybody that you took the
No.
exam, but did you tell people that you passed?
I did. I told my
Okay.
family, I told some people at work, and
Okay.
yeah, they were so confused. They're like, "What did you pass?" Because they didn't even know I took it. I was like, "Oh yeah, my FE," and they're like, "No way!" Like it's just 2 years. Like they knew the struggle,
Yeah.
so it was
That's,
nice. And then
that's
in
good.
terms of like professionally, I mean, it was encouraged at my job. It wasn't necessarily a requirement, but it's like good because now, like when the time presents itself to move up, like I do have that ability. So
Yeah.
really excited. And
Yeah.
then now I can start looking into the PEs.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. And since you are in California, I think you can go ahead and take your PE, the first portion. I don't think
Yes.
you can take earthquake and
No.
surveying, but you can take the first portion of the exam. Now, you probably looked into this. I'm not sure if you know, but to take the PE in California, you're gonna take the 8 hour section,
Mhm.
and then to take earthquake and surveying, do you need 4 years of experience after you take the FE or just 4 years of experience in general? Do you know?
To be honest, I haven't really looked into it
Yeah.
that much yet. Yeah. I was just like getting over like the FE barely. So I was like,
Makes sense.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's
Okay.
something I definitely need to look into.
Yeah. So when are
Yeah.
you planning to take your PE, the first portion?
So I'm aiming for next April, but I know with everything going on, it's gonna be pretty impacted. So I'm thinking maybe the following October, not this one coming up, but we'll see. We'll
Yeah.
see. I just have to, start doing the research on them. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Now, do you have any closing remarks for engineers who are trying to pass their FE exam?
Yeah, I feel like if you're struggling to pass this exam like I did, I highly I can't stress it enough. Like don't get discouraged and don't think negatively and don't give up. Like those are the biggest things for me. Like I was at a low point and the biggest thing was don't give up, like get back up. You're not a failure if you fail this once, twice, 5 times, however many times it takes. Like I think the biggest thing is just be proud of yourself. Like you got this far and this is just like a small obstacle and you'll overcome it if you put in, the time, the effort and, really put in the hard work and have confidence and faith in yourself. Like I think that's the biggest thing and it's good to find something that works for you and just go with it, you know.
Yeah.
I don't want people to think like they're a bad engineer because believe me, I did. I even questioned if it wasn't like if engineering was even like the right path for me. Like I got to that point, and I just don't want people to feel like that. I think like you can do it if you set your mind to it and you really push yourself and don't let this like discourage you or think it's impossible, because this test really is possible to pass if you give it your all. So,
That's great.
yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you, Julie. Thank you for being with us here today and sharing your FE experience. You really shared some really great tips, and I'm sure you're gonna inspire a lot of students to keep trying until they pass their FE exam. So
Thank
thank
you
you
for
again.
having me.
Great. Now, if you took the FE exam and you didn't pass, I really hope this video gives you the motivation to keep studying for your FE exam. What you guys need to remember is that it doesn't matter how many times you fail the exam. What matters at the end of the day is that you will pass your exam. You should also stop for a second and try to analyze what you have done before and try to change so that way you can pass your FE exam, because you can't keep doing the same thing and expect different results. You have to either change your study habits or maybe the material that you are using, but you have to look back and see what are the things that you can change so that this time you will pass your FE exam. Another thing Julie mentioned in the interview, and I think it's really important, is knowing what are your weaknesses and overcome them. Because this way, if you overcome your weaknesses, if you overcome the topics that scare you, you're going to have the confidence to do well in your FE exam. So make sure that you guys go over your weaknesses, and then also make sure that you review your strength as well. So don't forget to go over the topics that you already know. Just review them, because you never know on the FE exam. You might start getting hard problems on the materials that you already know. So just to be ready for your FE exam, make sure that you guys review all the materials that are on the specifications. Now, if you guys like this video, please give me a big thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe for new videos. Thank you guys for watching. Good luck with you studying, and I will see you soon. À la prochaine. Oh yeah, everybody now.